There's now a revolt by senior officers against the head of our armed forces, General Angus Campbell, who wants to strip some of them of medals. Now, Campbell has told senior officers they have to explain to him in 28 days why they should keep honours and medals awarded during the Afghanistan war, when an investigation into our special forces, including the SAS, said there had been war crimes, including the shooting of unarmed prisoners. Joining me is the National Chairman of the Australian SAS Association, Martin Hamilton-Smith. Thank you so much for your time, Martin Hamilton-Smith. Why shouldn't officers be held accountable for what went on under their command?
Well, firstly, Andrew, great to be with you. Let me just remind your viewers that nearly 40,000 young Australians served in Afghanistan or were supported our operations, and only 19 of them are under scrutiny as part of the process of war crime allegations referred to as special investigator. It's a handful of people and a handful of issues. We think that from the beginning, 2 years ago, in November 2020, this has been handled poorly. The Brereton allegations were publicly aired. I think the way then Minister Reynolds, or under Minister Reynolds, the CDF handled those matters publicly was one which encouraged a presumption of guilt rather than a presumption of innocence. Those soldiers that have been accused haven't yet had a chance to put their side of the story, and the truth has not been established and won't be until that's done. So our view is, before you start punishing people, let's have the due process unfold, let's establish the facts, let's get it right, and then after that is complete, then look at whether action needs to be taken. Now, it hasn't worked that way. Not only the more recent revelation that certain junior officers are being asked to explain why they should keep their awards for conspicuous service in warlike operations, but right back at the beginning 2 years ago, enlisted men, corporals, sergeants are being blamed. It seems to us that when there was good news in Afghanistan, there was a minister or a general ready to take the credit. But when mistakes were made, it seems it's the fault of junior leaders, non-commissioned and commissioned. We think that's wrong. We've watched for 2 years with concern. We've drawn a line in the sand. The SAS Association, the Commando Association and the RSL and other service organisations want a different approach, and one that's fairer to the men.
Yeah, but Professor Hamilton-Smith, there's a couple of things there. Like, I agree with you. The generals have first stepped forward. I'm taking credit for what the soldiers on the ground did, and then when something bad happens, I don't want to. This is exactly what I'd like to see. Then, if something bad did happen under their watch, they lose the medals for the. They should have been noticing, or they should have been in control, or something like that. And you say, well, they haven't had their chance to have their say. They did, in the sense that there was already an internal inquiry that raised profound findings, evidence of war crimes. And I don't know if there's ever going to be a definitive court verdict on this, given that we're talking about people, witnesses, that are now under Taliban command. I don't know how we're going to ever get to that finding that you're after.
Well, you make a good point, Andrew. Allegations, and I should say that we commend the soldiers that came forward with them. They saw things that concerned them, they've reported it. It's been summarised by Brereton, good for them. They've done the right thing. We're lucky to live in a country that takes these matters head on and deals with them. But those accused also deserve a fair go. Now, you make a very good point. Not a single charge has yet been laid. Will we get a single conviction? We'll have to wait and see. Will the accusations, once the other side of the story has been told, be verified and established as truth? Now, until that process has carried its way through, we shouldn't be punishing people. Now, people have lost their jobs. People have been, soldiers have been humiliated. They have been punished. Now, there's a suggestion that certain junior officers who have been accused of no wrongdoing, by the way, but seen to be guilty by association, are faced with the prospect of having their awards removed. Now, if the principle is that if you were there and you're associated with these activities in any way, then you're guilty somehow. If that is the principle, it's a very dangerous one, because that principle would fly right up the chain of command to the most senior levels within the ADF and right to the political level. Now, I can tell you that the problem here, Andrew,
let me just pick you up on that. Let me just pick you up on that, Martin Hamilton-Smith. General Campbell himself was given the Distinguished Service Cross for distinguished command and leadership in action as the commander of a joint task force on Operation Slipper, which is our war effort in Afghanistan. Shouldn't he then give back his own medal?
Well, I think that's a question you best put to him. I would say this: our soldiers were overcommitted in Afghanistan. I have met soldiers that have done 7 or 8 consecutive tours of Afghanistan. It was a dangerous place. They were fighting a vicious enemy. They lost mates, both dead and wounded. Many are still carrying scars from their service. Now, why were they used and overused so repetitively? And if judgments in Afghanistan frayed and poor decisions were made, is that part of the cause? Now, the people that committed those troops to that intensity of operations were senior generals and politicians. Now, these people have defences, and they need their day to put their defences forward. And until that's done, let's not talk about taking anyone's medals away. Let's not talk about punishing anyone. The style of leadership that we in the veterans community would like to see is a different style of leadership.
Martin Hamilton-Smith, you make some excellent points. Thank you so much for your time.